We decided to stay in Delaware Water Gap this month and visit Sango Kura, the only sake brewery in the state of Pennsylvania.
I'm one of 16 breweries operating on the entire North American continent. So we're a rare breed. Sake is hard to make. I started about 3.5 years ago. I'm coming from a food truck that was on the West Coast out in Portland, Oregon. I don't have any table service here. I never did because this is a brewery, and so we're a super relaxed environment. You just order whatever you'd like at the counter. And the food that I serve here is all scratched made noodles. We do traditional ramen noodle dishes and izakaya dishes, which would be a pub in Japan. Carby, salty, filling, wonderful sauces, lots of flavor, and then it's all accompanied by Pennsylvania's first and only sake brewery. I really got into sake and Japanese food when I went to Japan, specifically to go to language school. When I got to Japan and started eating, I learned what a palate was very quickly, and it was just like fireworks.
So what exactly is sake?
Sake is open fermentation, like wine. Wine is made from fruit. Sake is made from grain. It's made from rice. It is rice, water, yeast, and koji rice. It's a 35-day fermentation. Grain to glass, we're looking at 2 months. It's very easy to make bad sake. It's very hard to make good sake. Today is a brew day. Jonah is steaming rice, which we steam for 2 hours, and then we'll add that to the fermentation tank with water, koji, and the yeast.
It's important to level out the rice so that it all cooks evenly.
Koji is a 3-day process. We keep the room at 105 degrees. It's a sterile room we use. That instantly starts to make its own heat, literally shreds the protein, spits it out the other side into a usable glucose sugar that the yeast feeds off of in the tank. No Domino's sugar dumped in there. We portion out the koji, we put it into the freezer, and then it's ready to be dumped into the fermentation tank when we need it. This room is washing the rice, soaking the rice, steaming the rice. We cool the rice in this guy that we made. So this is a fermentation tank. They're all jacketed with glycol, food grade antifreeze that spins through the outside, and we can adjust the temperatures. We also have an app that we can do from our phone. This is day 2 of putting a batch together. So today we'll add more water, more steamed rice, and more koji rice, and we'll do that again one more time, and then the fun part begins where we wait and it starts to ferment into sake. Sake is a cold ferment. Beer, we're around 68 degrees. Sake, around 45. Once this fermentation is done, which this is well on its way, we bring it over to our press. This is a traditional way of removing the sake from the mash. And we will pump these bags full of the mash, which is called moromi. Flip the flap over like that, full of sake. We have sake all over us. It's not a bad thing. And then we layer them in this press. I lined the entire outside with glycol piping, so that way, as we're pressing for about 2 days, the sake stays cold the entire time. The sake comes over here, and we rack it into this tank. And then what we're left with is a semi-clear sake up here. Cheers. Or kanpai, as Japanese say. People come in, they're like, oh, I don't like sake. I had it squirted in my mouth at a hibachi restaurant, whatever. And we just say, here, just try some. This sake is very floral. It's sweet. It has a lot of different notes.
Sake is very light, very refreshing, super delicate, something that you can really just, relax with.
We make a Junmai Ginjo sake here. And from that Junmai Ginjo, we make a citra hopped sake for our beer nerds. We make a bourbon infused, and we use barrel stays from Silverback Distillery, which is just a couple miles from here. We make a Nigori sake, which is a cloudy sake, which is right here. We add sediment back to the tank. That gives us a nice kind of creamy texture. And we also make a taru sake. Taru translates to cedar. I use Eastern red cedar.
I love the artwork on the bottles.
I use Pennsylvania-based artists. I just love the whole retro sci-fi thing. We want these to also be conversation pieces. I also wanted to make sure that people knew this is not a Japanese sake brewery. There's my daughter, Sango. This project was inspired through her. We love it here. We love the river. We love the mountains. It is inspiration for everything that I do myself and my whole family.
Sango Kura is a growing business here in the Poconos, and they are always looking to add to their staff. And don't forget to call me for an eye examination at Strasbourg Eye Specialist, located behind Friendly's in Tannersville. I look forward to meeting you.